Do you notice what's not on the rear wheel? Yep, that's right. Tires are still lost in the postal system. But check out the difference between the rear wheel and the front wheel. I sure hope the front wheel ends up coming out as well as the rear wheel did. I actually did hear from the post office this morning that the tires are in St. Louis and they're on their way to my house. Should be here by Monday. As they say, I'll believe it when I see it. But in the meantime, we've got a lot to do. We need to get going on the paint rejuvenation for the frame and the other metal parts, as well as a few miscellaneous items. That's what's happening on this episode of Featherstone Bicycles. First thing we're going to do is get this incredibly greasy chain soaking in the solvent, because it's going to take a while. And we're also going to throw in there a couple other parts, which would be the back end of the kickstand component, little pin for the kickstand. Now I've got to take this apart to get those pieces in the solvent. And what we do here is get the vise close to where it needs to be, but we can still move it in a little bit. This is a tough one. All right, now that retaining ring is pushed back a little, we can punch out the pin. There it goes. Be careful when you loosen this because that spring is under a lot of tension. There it goes. And we can start the cleaning process. So the first part of the paint rejuvenation process is Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. It's a liquid compound. You apply it and then you rub it off immediately. before I put the wax on, which will be the next step in the paint rejuvenation process, I'm going to attempt to knock out this small dent that's here. It's not huge, but it gives me a chance to use this kit, which I got. It's a 7-piece body and fender set from US Central. I bought it at auto parts store, I think O'Reilly's. It was ridiculously cheap. It was like $25. I couldn't pass it up. I'm not an expert at this. In fact, it may only be the second or third time I've ever used this. It's actually another small dent right here. But I think the process is to use one of the hammers, and I believe these are called dollies. And you use a shape behind that fits this. This doesn't quite fit that, so I think I'm going to use this one. It actually doesn't quite fit it either. It's definitely a rounder shape, but it's more round than this. Yeah, we'll give it a shot. Anyway, to protect the paint, I'm going to tape over this spot, because instead of pounding, the way the dent work process is supposed to take place, as far as I understand it, instead of pounding the dent back, you use the dolly to shape it in the back, and you pound on the surface where the dent is. Auto body repair viewers can fire away in the comments section. Actually came out pretty good. I did take a little bit of paint off with it, so I think I'm going to leave that other dent. Oh, well, that goes without saying. I was not even on the right dent. All right, let's try this again. I think that's about as good as it's going to get. It's really hard to work on this fender with this kind of arched surface, holding it with one hand and trying to bend out the dent with the other hand. And now I've got the wax, Meguiar's Gold Class Carnauba Plus, and unlike the compound, after you put this on, you let it dry fully before you rub it off. I went ahead and cleaned up a little bit of the hardware that was on the painted parts on the wire wheel. This is the screw that holds the last piece of the rear shifter cable housing in the near the back of the bike, and that flew off the wire wheel, and I spent about 30 minutes looking for it. And then this is what holds on the back fender to the frame near the kickstand unit. So we'll save those on the side, and let's work on these pedals. So if you recall, each one of these pedals has a white reflector, which is kind of unusual. Usually it's an amber color, and it's missing on one side. Same thing on the other one. I could not find replacement pedals at the bike shop, but what I did find was a replacement pedal that had the amber reflectors in it. It's not exactly the same, obviously different color reflectors. Also, the way that the pedals are put together, they're both made in Germany. Assume they're by the same manufacturer since they have the exact same design. The one that I was able to pick up, this piece is pressed over on this top piece, and then you undo that tab, and that's how the whole thing comes apart. On these, I don't know if the camera is going to be able to pick it up. It's this piece that comes up and through this top piece is not bent over. It's actually got some slits put in it that pressed the outsides of the tab out, and that locks it in. So I'm assuming I can just push those back together and take this apart. Might be a big assumption. We'll see. At any rate, I need to do this in order to get the amber reflectors out and put one on each side of the original pedals. Of course, it will be white on one side, amber on the other, but I don't think anybody's going to really care about that. So let's give this a whirl to take these off first, and maybe going to use the needle nose or possibly the channel locks would be better. And I was thinking maybe I need to heat this up. And that is bending. I'm trying not to also bend the top at the same time. Let's see here. Let's see if this... Yep, that works. All right. Longtime viewers will know I've always been leery of taking the pedals apart because I'm never sure if I can get that bend back right. And obviously you don't want to bend it too many times or else it's going to break. I guess I could, of course, heat it up. Now it's proving to be a little bit more difficult. Is it possible that these just bend up and then that flips over? There we go. All right. Okay. Bending it out further. All right, well, I've achieved my task, which was being able to get this. So that's good. But now that it's apart, I'm curious as to how this all works. I see that's smashed. So this part doesn't come apart. And I am going to put these two parts in the evaporust, and then I'm going to make sure that this fits in here. Yes, it does. And I'm going to clean out these rubber parts. So here's my old bucket jar of evaporust. Put those in there and fill it up. Let that sit for a day or two. I also, when I was pounding away, managed to crack one of the reflectors. So that's nothing a little super glue won't fix. And now last thing I'm going to do is I've got a little tiny wire wheel on my Dremel, and I'm going to try to shine up these rivets for the seat, because obviously I don't want to do that on the wire wheel on the bench grinder. So we'll see how this goes. Next episode, we'll get those pedals out of the evaporust and make some progress on some other parts. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope to see you next time on Featherstone Bicycles.